I don't think I've ever been angry that I can't hate a movie. Do you understand what goes through my head when I see the Twisters trailer? Why was Twister getting a sequel? Of all the films that came out in the 90s, that got a sequel? God, and it had Glenn Powell in it. I was ready to hate this movie. I went to my showtime. I did everything that I thought I was supposed to do. And I didn't hate it. And you know why I didn't hate it? Because I realized I'm an asshole. I realized I should just stop judging movies before they're released. And now I have to fully say to myself, this movie is good. And I feel like an asshole for almost judging it without even knowing. Guys and gals and all in between, my name is Xander and this is Twisters.
Who are they?
It's Tyler Owens. Calls himself a tornado wrangler. If you feel it!
Twisters is the spiritual successor to the 1996 disaster film Twister. I say spiritual successor because even Glenn Powell, I'm pretty sure, has said, nah, this ain't a sequel in the slightest. My thoughts on the 1996 film is that it's good. It's not great. It's just kind of average. But it does what it needs to and made me deathly afraid of tornadoes. So as you probably picked up from my rant earlier, one of my biggest problems here is that I'm not able to hate it. I don't know how that's even possible. I actually really enjoyed this film. But you know the drill, we got the good stuff and the bad stuff, so here we go. The film follows Kate, a weather enthusiast played by Daisy Edgar Jones. She was once obsessed with the idea that with the right studies and research, it's possible to tame a tornado. But the experiment they had goes wrong and cost the lives of 3 of Kate's good friends, including her lover, leaving only her and her kinda lazy friend Javi, played by Anthony Ramos. Years later, they reunite and Javi tells Kate that they might have a way to save lives in Oklahoma during a historic tornado outbreak. Kate reluctantly agrees and meets up with Javi and his team, but realizes an obnoxious internet celebrity, Tyler Owens, aka the Tornado Wrangler, played by Glenn Powell, is also there, but for a completely different cause opposed to Kate and Javi's. During this outbreak of tornadoes, Kate, Javi, and Tyler, alongside Tyler's Mr. Beast posse, must work together to figure out their solution. This movie is just like the predecessor in making me afraid of tornadoes. The opening of this film is genuine anxiety. My grandmother herself was jumping in her seat. Reminder, I live in Ohio. Weather-wise, that's the Oklahoma of the North. There's a point where they say, we gotta go to the movie theater for shelter, and I'm like, no the fuck you don't. Keep that shit right on the screen. Every character, yes, even the Mr. Beast parody, are very likable. Kate wants to help people because she knows how these tornadoes can affect lives. Javi is played by Anthony Ramos, so immediately he's one of my favorite characters. Well, having In the Heights on your record definitely does that to you. Even though I am getting so sick of Glenn Powell, he's alright too. I do feel attacked that he's supposed to be a YouTuber and not a TV host like Doglet's Bounty Hunter. They even say, oh yeah, we almost got a mill on the YouTubes. We're not all that stupid, alright? I promise. Most of us are, but I promise not all of us are. I'm not a country music guy, but the soundtrack really complements what's going on, especially considering it takes place in Oklahoma. The film is also surprisingly funny in parts. Like, there's this reporter who's doing a story on Glenn Powell, and he's constantly trying to figure out what the fuck is so fun about these rednecks going into tornadoes. Well, I mean, if you are known for driving into tornadoes, it is quite an achievement to be, I don't know, alive. Also, it's crazy how well done the Tornado Wrangler aspect is. I fully believe the Tornado Wrangler is a real thing I could find on YouTube with a quick search. Even the merch sales, yeah, that must be fun. To be big enough to sell merch, you know? Yeah, oh well, I got furry porn, so there's that. The movie also shows brilliantly why both sides are in the wrong. For Tyler's team, it can be seen as pretty scummy that something very deadly and lethal like tornadoes are just some kind of sick game to them. But on Kate and Javi's side, they don't realize the secrets of their investors and even their team. And what I love is that none of that makes these characters on either side unlikable. It just makes them flawed, and not a lot of movies know how to do that. And just so I don't rant about it in the bad stuff, I realize that this movie requires suspension of disbelief. I don't know science as well as probably the people who wrote this do, but of course you're not going to stop a tornado, at least not with this kind of easy solution. But I also realize that's not what the film is trying to say you can do, it's just a movie at the end of the day. Alright, I've said all the good stuff, and thankfully I don't think there's too much bad stuff. I know I always complain that a movie is too long, and this film doesn't feel too long, but certain scenes do. There's a scene where Kate visits her mother, and they have like a Lainey Wilson song playing, and I usually am okay with Lainey Wilson, but the scene it follows and the way they show it just really makes the scene drag. A few scenes in the movie do feel a little out of place. Like there's a third act breakup, and I'm like, really? That's a little weird in my mind. There's a scene where Tyler takes Kate to a rodeo, and it seems like a nice scene, but it immediately goes into a tornado scene. I'm just like, man, they can't even have a fucking rodeo without experiencing this shit? You know how they say can't have shit in Detroit, can't have fun in Oklahoma? Side note, I am so sick of Glenn Powell. Holy shit, this man was in way too much since Maverick. It's not even that he's like annoying or overdoing it, he's just in too much. Hitman just released on Netflix. I do think Kate and Tyler's relationship is a bit rushed. It honestly is my biggest issue with the film. They don't even really develop it. It obviously starts with Kate being a smartass and thinking Tyler's just a dumb redneck with a camera crew. To be honest, most people already think that about YouTubers, but the thing is, there is no development on their relationship, or at least it's not fleshed out enough to be believable. It takes literally one scene for Kate's entire view on Tyler to change. Honestly, that's all I got. So, here am I. Twisters is definitely a surprise, but a pleasant one. In the same way Top Gun Maverick is a perfect sequel to Top Gun, Twisters is the perfect successor to Twister. I still would say Maverick is the better movie, but Twisters is still pretty damn good. I think it's pretty funny that Glenn Powell's in both of those. Despite the plethora of 80s and 90s movies suddenly getting continuations.
The juice is loose.
Ah, the juice is loose. It is very fun, very fun. Hey, look into the barrel real quick. Huh? Twisters is still a pleasant surprise. Shit. Oh, God, I hate living in Ohio!